And we brought you here today because obviously we met this past summer. I didn't really know you guys before this event, unfortunately, but if you could just walk us through why we initially met, or the police department and you guys came into contact, and what was that?
Well, I guess that's one of the beneficial side effects of this whole event is we got to meet.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's see. I was walking my dog early in the morning and walked out and was completely oblivious that the truck was missing until we came back and noticed that there was no truck in the driveway, thinking my husband had left. He was home. And when we realized that neither one of us knew where the truck had gone, we called you.
Okay. So just to clarify for the listeners, obviously they came out and their vehicle was missing, so they didn't know where it was. So obviously they called us like she just said. And the reason I asked them to come on, and I think it's good for, listeners. I don't mean to always talk about negative things, but obviously out of the negative comes positive. I think, like you said, us meeting and maybe some different things going on, but their car was stolen. And obviously a lot of cars and this news have been, it's dominated the news cycle this summer here in Metro Rochester and Monroe County. Our crime numbers as far as stolen vehicles has skyrocketed due to a plethora of issues, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. But, a lot of variables play into that. So here in the village, we don't have a ton of stolen cars every year. We have a handful, but this year we've had more than normal. And Monroe County, I think, usually has, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it's 1,300 to 1,500 maybe a year here in Monroe County, and I think this year it's over 4,000 already.
Wow.
So it just absolutely skyrocketed this year, like I said, for a bunch of reasons. So, but I didn't mean to cut you off, just wanted to kind of give a backstory. And
right.
And when you saw that your vehicle was missing, how'd you feel? How'd that make you feel?
As much as we love Fairport, and we really did believe that we lived in a Mayberry, this was the lesson that I don't think anybody lives in Mayberry anymore. The good part of all of this was that the neighbors were unbelievable, so supportive. We've all learned that we need to watch out for each other. I think because of this, we've become closer. Communication has been better. And we truly watch out for each other more, I think, because of this than we did before. How we felt was shocked and then also ashamed because we didn't lock the vehicles. We knew we probably should have, but we live in this wonderful village. We don't need to. And we've learned that we were wrong.
So, a couple of things you just said, I just want to expand on, like, let's not forget, you said, we didn't lock our vehicles, we didn't do this. Someone stole your car. I mean, we don't blame the criminal enough. Whoever that criminal was that stole your car. And I like to point that out. And obviously I have this opportunity now, but all these people say, oh, we didn't do this or we should have done that. You shouldn't have to do half that, right?
Right.
I mean, let's really, at the root of the problem is the person who stole your car. It's not their car. They took your car. And you and I and Art have had talk before this. And I've always said, most vehicles to most Americans are their second largest investment. I think we talked about this yesterday. And, obviously people's homes are primarily their number one investment, and their number two is their car. And your number two investment, what you work hard for, and you go to work and save for. And there's a lot of avenues that your money is spent nowadays, and one of them's got to be your vehicle, and that was taken from you. So that really sucks.
And we know that we weren't hurt. We were fine, but you do feel violated. And after we finally got the truck back, after much repair, it was hard to get into the truck.
Yeah, it is.
Even though it was completely cleaned and it was basically a new truck by the time we got it, it took a while to get past that. Ew, people were in here doing who knows what in this truck.
Almost violated.
Yeah.
Because that's your property.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you. And just for the listeners and just to give a backstory, so we did recover their truck, I believe on Joseph Ave in the city of Rochester. And I think 3 or 4 individuals ran from that truck after a short police chase, if I remember, if my mind serves me correctly. I don't think we've made an arrest to this day for that.
And there was a gun in the truck, I think.
There was, and we're going to get to that.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you can say that we're on the topic now. So there was a gun in the car. There was also some evidentiary stuff, right? Some paperwork and stuff like that we tried following up with later on afterwards, tried to determine who might have been in your truck or stole your truck, and we were unable to. But and to touch back on, you guys spoke of what comes out of it, and I said there's some good things that come out of it, and you said your neighborhood and stuff like that. It's funny. 30, 40, 50 years ago, there was Neighborhood Watch, right?
Right.
And then we kind of all diverted from that front porch and we went to our back porches, right?
Mm-hmm.
We kept to ourselves, and it seems like people now are coming back together because of this. We do live in a great area. We live in a great town. I'll tout Fairport all day long. We're not without its problems, but I think we have limited problems compared to most municipalities or areas around Metro Rochester. But, we do have our issues. And when we do them, we try to clean them. In this case, we weren't able to catch an individual, and which is sad. But that neighborhood watch, that pulling togetherness that you mentioned is a good thing, a positive thing that comes out of this. But I want the listeners to hear, especially from crime victims. I hate to label you guys as that, but you are. You are crime victims. Someone did something to you. And just to hear it from your point of view or your perspective is different. And to feel violated, feel taken and all that. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on today, and to let other listeners too here in the village and obviously in Metro Rochester listen to someone give their point of view. So, all right, what do you have, Dad, on this? I know it was your truck, and I know you and I worked.
Yeah, I'm more from the non-emotional aspect, if you will.
What are you saying, Art?
My wife's the touchy-feely, and I'm the dollars and cents. And unfortunately, that's how I'm looking at the loss. There's a term, diminished value, and that basically is what your vehicle has lost once you have significant damage. In other words, if there's two Chevy pickups next to each other, purely identical, and one has had $20,500 damage, repaired perfectly, most citizens will go for the other truck because it's got a stigma. It's been damaged. And in our case, we lost between $4,000 and $5,000. That's real money. So what we thought was a significant asset just came down off the market, $4,000 or $5,000. And that affects your trade-in. And now I am forced to hang on to the truck. My options are none. So I apologize. That's the financial side of this.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this. I know you were looking for a new truck. You were weighing whether they were going to the insurance company was going to total out your car or give you a value that was worthwhile, I guess, to you guys, because the truck is almost new, 2019?
Yeah, 19 with 32,000 miles.
Yeah, so basically that truck has great value. It really does, especially in this market.
It did.
Yeah, it did. But, you and I have talked, and a lot of people don't realize, too, and kind of segue into, like, the MVA world, the motor vehicle accident world. When you get into an accident or if your truck is stolen, the insurance company does, I'm sure everyone's heard of the Carfax reports, so on and so forth. Well, those are detrimental to your overall value of your vehicle when you go to trade it in or sell it on the open market or private sale, so on and so forth. And that's what Art, I think, is touching on, too, when you go to trade it in. Now that this has happened to him, unbeknownst to you, and you had nothing to do with it other than someone stole your car. Now you're out that $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 because your truck is valued that much lower. So I think, we talked about it just to explain to the listeners. It kind of really, really stinks when that happens to you.
Yeah, it is the second largest asset we've got besides something in the financial world. But anytime you take a hit, I don't care if it's ice damage on your home. You have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
And the insurance company isn't going to suffer.
No, gosh, no. We all know that. They're going to pass it on to us, whatever expenses or increases they have. Everyone says, well, the insurance company, they don't need anything. They pass it on to us, the customers.
And then, our premiums just went up.
Right. And whoever doesn't think that's just not thinking correctly. So, and we've talked about a bunch of different aspects of this. Sergeant, I'm going to put the mic to Sergeant Monahan here a second across the table from me. Sergeant Monahan works day shift. Unfortunately for him, he responds to a lot of the stolen cars because generally, I'm not going to say all, but generally they happen in the overnight hours, although we've had a couple in the daytime. So he's the one that basically mops up the mess and goes and takes the report and starts the investigation. And I don't think, did you or one of your guys do this investigation, Sergeant Monahan?
One of my guys did, yeah.
That's what I thought. So, you know, when you respond to something like this, you know, you get a couple or an individual calls up, said, I don't know where my car is. What are some of the things that initially go through your head? And be honest, you know.
It used to be a lot more prevalent when you get that call. It was somebody was a little bit confused, and we'd try to help them find where they parked it. And we have seen that, you know, change a little bit. Like, you know, the crime trends change. And it used to be, you could almost guarantee we'd drive, you know, hop in the car, we'll drive around, we'll check the parking lots, and where'd you go yesterday? You know, and every once in a while we'd end up at the local bar or something. So,
yes, we would.
That's
a true story.
From time to time, you know,
True story.
That's what we do. You know, you go through the things that, you know, and it used to be you could almost guarantee, you know, we'd find it somewhere, but it's sadly starting to change a little bit. And it is sad to see people, that, you know, despite the, you know, not to put the financial aspect aside, but, you know, we all have that level of comfort, you know, wherever we live. And it's funny because everyone has it, even people that live in more high crime areas, you know, and it's just, unfortunately, just sometimes you just get hit right in the face with the reality that, you know, that there is an element that can be, you know, right outside your door while you're sleeping. And that is hard to accept, and especially in an area like Fairport. And we used to do, we still do home security surveys, and we would go through with people and explain, you know, where they should set up their locks and their security cameras. And sometimes, almost more often than not around here, we would get going, and then someone would stop and ask me, "Oh, so you think I should lock my doors?"
Oh dear.
Yes, that would be a big part, and it's almost a credit, you know, that people feel that safe, you know, and Fairport still does have that small town feel, where you know. That's all we want it to be, that Mayberry, right? We want to feel that way, but you got to find that nice balance between still living your life. You know, you could make your house almost, you know, completely crime proof, but you know, nobody wants to live in Fort Knox. You know, right. you still want to have the windows and the pretty things, you know. So you got to find that balance, and I don't know, it's tough dealing with that aspect of things when you see people really taking a hit as far as, you know, you're just trying to go about your day and you realize what's out there. I think, you know, in the line of work that we're in, you know, over the years, you get probably a little more accustomed to knowing that element's out there than, you know, your average bear. And then you see something like this happen, and, you know, people, you know, get, I don't know what you say, not the bubble burst, I think we used to talk about.
So our joke has always been is a lot of people in Fairport, and they live in a bubble. You know, they're protected from the outside world, and they don't have any clue what is around them. It seems like sometimes. And
that was probably me.
And we deal with a lot of different people, and it's not a shot to anyone. It's just, I'm like, you do realize the city of Rochester is 7 or 8 miles away. You know, there's transient workers all through here from all parts of the state, so on and so forth. And I guess, you know, I'll, as a member of the police department, I'll take that as a compliment. That's great. You know, I guess perception is reality, but we're not without our issues. Thank God we don't have more issues. Yeah. You know, and really.
You made me think. We think this happened somewhere around 3 or 4 in the morning. And I have to say, if I hear anything outside in the night, I am out of that bed, looking out that window. Did we lock the truck? Did we lock the car? What's going on? Nothing will be there, but boy, it really...
I think it changes you.
Yep.
I really, truly do. And like I said, in multiply that, if you were the victim of a break-in or a robbery or, you know, an assault or a shooting, it probably exemplifies that times 100.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and that's
much rather have somebody learn that lesson and become a little more safety aware on a property crime than a violent crime. And then the other thing we talk about with people, do you ever notice when you go on vacation or go to stay somewhere how you usually sleep very poorly those first couple of nights, and then sometimes even by the end of the week you're strutting around, you know, like you're completely comfortable. Well, it happens where you live. It's a natural thing. We settle in and we feel okay where we're at, you know, and you would have to, because you can't live in this real heightened state of paranoia all the time. But it's, you know, something like this happens and it kind of snaps you back to that, you know, every bump in the night's waking you back up and you're really, you know, aware of what's going on and what could happen. So it's just one of those things, you know, everybody gets comfortable where they hopefully, you know, are able to get comfortable where they live. And you know, you just have to, it's a balance, you know, between being safe and enjoying your life too.
So Art, let me ask you, because you're talking so much, so I'll give you the mic some more. So, you know, with crime and stuff like that, you've worked in public entities, and obviously you're a member of this fine establishment, this community we call Fairport. What would you like to see us, the police, doing differently? Don't kill us too bad, Art. Remember, this is a taped conversation. So, and I always ask people that, when we go to their houses. Joe and I have done this for a long time now, right? Joe is going to retire in December next year. So October. He's got 10 months left. But
who's counting?
We've done this for a while. So just like anything, you become that subject matter expert. We like to believe we're halfway competent. We try to be competent, but we don't always get it right, And then I always ask people. I said, hey, what would you want us doing differently? What do you see? Because we get stuck in a rut too sometimes, right?
Sure. I honestly haven't given that a lot of thought. I don't have an axe to grind with the village police or any police department. At times I feel as if the village at large is not as informed as I think they should be. I think we found out about perhaps an increase in car thefts when it happened to us.
Yeah.
And your department was nice enough to inform us, open your eyes a little bit wider and pay attention a little bit more. But if our fathers are somewhat reluctant to announce that we may have a problem here or may have a problem in the south part of the village, I think that we're due some information.
Yeah.
And perhaps the public can even aid the police department.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to create a vigilante, but
right. No. and honestly, I have the report in front of me. Obviously, you see me flip through it. It's been a couple of months now. But you mentioned the public, and obviously most of our crimes are solved by the public. And this podcast, I think, was obviously derived from your guys' event. I think when we first sat down, and I think one of the things I was going to try to do was start something like this to give us a voice to talk about issues, and they're informative issues, right? And once a month, someone can click on our website. That's what we plan to do. We plan to put this on our website once a month. So the first of the month, you can go and click on and say, hey, what's going on in the village? And it just gives us a voice. And I think that came out of you guys. And I think we've sat down in your home, and I think we've talked about that idea. And so that's why I thought it was apropos to have you guys kind of here. Like I said, we get stuck in a rut. There's other podcasts and stuff like that. But I wanted to give us a voice here in Fairport, and that's what we're trying to do. It's trying to accomplish through this podcast here. So, I agree with you on that. I know you guys don't have an axe to grind. I've known you for a couple months, and I don't gather that from you guys at all. But I think you guys have partook in a little more in the public, I guess, event as far as board meetings and having a say and stuff like that. And that's what it's all about.
Right.
I know in the report here, Ring doorbell cameras. You talk about your neighbors and stuff like that. Ring doorbells, everyone has them now, right? And we use them. We use them all the time. Whether it's a motor vehicle accident or a burglary investigation or an assault, we always go to the cameras. We do what we call a neighborhood canvas, and that means we literally go seek people out. We knock on their doors, stop them on the street. Hey, where do you live? Where were you during this time? Did you hear anything, see anything abnormal? Did you see a car in the neighborhood? Did you see anyone walking? Anything. Those preliminary investigative questions. So,
but I think one of the officers said, yes, the cameras are wonderful, but these people who are taking vehicles or doing whatever, they're wearing masks.
And they were in this one too, I believe.
They were, because they went down around the corner and somebody did have them and they were masks. So that...
You're exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. And as far as the podcast, I think it's a great idea. I guess my thinking about older people being aware that this is going to be out there and that they can see this.
This is just one step in that ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. This is one tool. And a lot of older people, obviously, podcasts aren't new, but you're right. It's a newer technology, I would say, right? And Bill, off to my left, we were talking about before you guys came how people still click onto the radio because it's easier, right? Just one step. We're instantaneous society, right? We want now. So that radio, you get in your car, you just hit, preset stations and you're listening to your station. Podcast, you got to click through a couple to listen live and stuff like that. But you're right on that. The older generation still needs to be informed some other way. Whether it's flyers, whether it's, I'm not going to say Instagram, but now we have a new Instagram for the listeners. Obviously, it's Fairport, New York Police. That's our Instagram. So please log on, like us, and become a member so we can share information too. We also have our village network information that we put stuff out through too. So, but you're right. There's got to be a bunch of different facets of
And I
getting
think I
information
did
out.
mention at one point at a board meeting that because of older people, they like something in the mail. They want to have their hands on it, something that they can open and read, as opposed to having to use technology.
I agree.
So I think all these aspects, technology, a handheld letter.
Yeah. We still go out and knock on doors. You guys probably are unaware, but West Church Street, beginning of the year, we have a curve on West Church Street near Briggs. We had a couple motor vehicle accidents there. And we're like, why do people keep wrecking on this corner? This corner's wide open, right? We just couldn't understand it for the life of us. I think we had 5 or 6 accidents, in a short period of time. So we're like, is there an issue with the corner? And, again, we get stuck in our rut. We don't think it is because we're capable of manipulating that corner, but maybe someone else isn't. And so we went back and looked at the MVA reports, and there was some defining factors. And I think they were distracted driving, whether they were on the phone or whether they were intoxicated. One was intoxicated. I don't think weather played into any of them but one, if I remember. I'd have to go back and look. But so there were some factors that you could blame that accident on or contributing factors. So, but during that process, we went out and knocked on doors. We knocked on that neighborhood and just asked people, because sometimes you don't know who lives there. Maybe a traffic engineer lives there. Maybe a stunt driver, who knows, lives there, right? You don't know until you knock on the door. Introduce yourself and say, hey, you guys got any ideas? And that's what I asked you earlier. You have any ideas that we're not doing or could do? And sometimes some of the best ideas come from outside of us. So that's why I asked you that. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. What would you have the police department or the village? I know we talked about the information share. What would we do different?
I've got nothing. You guys came immediately as soon as we made the call. We couldn't have asked for anything better.
I appreciate saying that on a taped conversation. That's very nice of you.
Well, you did. The follow-up, yes. And you, Chief, came to the house, I believe, 3 different times, and you didn't need to, just to check up on us, to see how we were doing. That kind of communication goes a long way.
I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say.
Well, nothing is going to replace
it not happening.
Phone calls are great, emails are great, but person to person has a huge impact.
I agree.
It means a lot.
No, that's my job, first of all, but I appreciate saying that. But Sergeant Monahan and I always talk. We're inundated with paperwork, right? Mm-hmm. We just are. We go to anywhere from 13 to 15,000 calls a year, and it's busy. It is busy for a 10-guy department, especially with the influx of the bars we have and the restaurants we have and stuff like that. Nights are extremely busy now, and people are great. That's what we want. We want the free enterprise system. We want businesses. They pay sales tax that's given to us eventually and stuff like that. It's all great, but with people come issues, right? Traffic, problems, fights, customer trouble, so on and so forth, and whatever. And we're very well versed in dealing with that. But that's some of the offshoots of growing a town or growing a business. So just one of those things that no one really talks about. Mm-hmm. But that paperwork aspect, when we get inundated with paperwork, we can't get out from behind our desk. We can't go walk and drive up and see you guys or see someone else. And, Sergeant Monahan will tell you the first thing we try to do in the morning is walk. And I think people want to approach you or tell you issues or give you a heads up, hey, this is happening or whatever. So, this morning after this, we have a meeting of the intersection at Route 250 in Hulbert. And we got a group of people coming in, and I think there's 10 or so people coming in, just trying to troubleshoot, try to find out how we can, better serve that intersection with the kids crossing the crosswalk and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's busy.
I don't have all the answers. I have some answers. I can direct some things, but I'm not a subject matter expert on everything. So I met with the DOT this week. They were very, very nice. State DOT, Department of Transportation, the Rochester office. Matt Oravec came out here. So very nice on a couple of calls. Came out. We discussed some options that I think we're going to implement at that intersection. But there again, it's working with your partners. So that's what we're doing today, but meeting with the public. Joe, you've met with numerous people over the last 20 years and stuff like that. It is invaluable learning what people have to say. What's your opinion on that?
And I've been surprised by what, sometimes you really, till you get talking to people, you have no idea what their issues are going to be, because like we get focused on the radio calls that come in, and that's what we're dealing with. And sometimes, people just aren't programmed to call 911 or bring those up. They don't know how. And we do get it a lot when we're out walking. People just, come running up with, hey, how about the, and XYZ, they'll start listing things. Oh, I didn't. So it is hard because you don't know where to focus your time, as you're juggling radio calls and doing different things. It definitely helps to have some community interaction to push us in the right direction, or at least let us know what issues are on people's mind. Because it can not seem like an issue to us because can get focused on, what report I have to do about it or what crime's taking place. Well, that's not everything. There's all kinds of other things going on too. So,
yep.
It's funny. Do you guys have a couple minutes or do you have to go? You good?
No, I'm good. We're
okay.
Good.
9:30. All right. A couple more minutes and we'll kick you out of here.
Sure.
All right. So a couple years ago for Canal Days, if you guys don't know or are listening to this and you don't know of Canal Days, it's a local festival that people from all around the state come to. But they stole a hot tub at one of the vendors' tents. And I'm like, is this a joke? How do you steal a hot tub? With 200 tents set up on Main Street. So they stole a hot tub. Someone pulled it off. So there again, start the neighborhood canvas, start talking, dark 30 in the morning. No real Ring doorbell cameras. Since then, I think we've installed several cameras in and around the village. We have several municipal cameras that we use for traffic and stuff like that. But I don't think the cameras are up at this time. So went down to knocking on doors, talking with people. And we run into a guy who was still drunk at 9 in the morning. And he goes, they stole it. And I said, who stole it? He goes, those guys right there in the truck. I said, what? And the guy has literally been drinking all night long. And it wasn't me doing the interview. The officers said, well, how do you know he stole it? And he goes, I was up. I watched it. I said, what were you doing up at 4 in the morning? He goes, drinking. He was sitting on his porch and he was drinking all night. But he was well into it. And but he gave us information and we said, can we come back and talk to you this afternoon? He goes, yeah. So he was going to bed. And so he went to bed and went back and re-interviewed him. And he said the exact same story and pointed out the truck. And I said it was a local vendor who came here from out of state, or not out of state, but out of town, in state. And they rolled the hot tub down Main Street, across the Village Landing, and into the back of this semi truck and stole it. So we put together the investigation. We called in the owner of the vendor and basically laid out. We
informed him that he was in hot water.
He's here all day. So that's what we did. And the owner denied. And I said, but I don't know how else to say it to you, but literally a guy watched you do it. So the guy said, no. I said, okay. So put together a couple cars and drove down to his shop. It was a couple hours from here. Drove down to his shop and basically started that investigation there. And so there was the hot tub. They burned it. They went down.
They burned it?
Oh, no.
I believe, if I remember right, they burned the hot tub and the pump was still there. They kept the pump because they thought the pump was valuable, but they thought we were going to come do a search warrant on their house, which we were. That's what we were there to do. And so they burned the hot tub. So they ended up paying, I think it was Pettis Pools or one of the local pool shops. I can't remember. Do you remember the name of the victim? But they ended up paying him for the hot tub. But it's just wild. You talk about neighborhood canvases and listening to people. There's a lot more people out there than there are cops, so we have to definitely work with our partners, and that's Police 101, right? That's nothing new. So, yeah, just fun. And we could go on and on and on with stories, about policing. But
Can you beat the hot tub story?
Yes, we can beat the hot tub story. Yeah, we just any cop in Metro Rochester can beat that hot tub story. I promise you. So there's a lot going in and around Rochester. But anything else before you guys get out of here? Anything you guys want to add? Art, we'll turn it over to you.
No, I don't have anything additional. I want to thank you for your time and best of luck with the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys being the inaugural guest. I really do.
Sure. Oh, we're honored.
Marilyn, anything else?
I just hope this helps everybody become more aware and help us watch out for each other and support each other and keep this village the wonderful place that it is.
That's what we have to concentrate on, what you just said. You can't just give in or lose. You do have to almost dig your heels in and fight for what you want, whether it's a neighborhood or whether it's a belief or so on and so forth. We really do.
Yep.
You can't just continue to move or...
Can't turn the other way.
No, you absolutely cannot.
Gotta face it.
And the fight's on us right now. If you don't realize that with policing, and not just policing, everyone thinks, oh, it's just police. Well, the police are there for your community or your assets or your investments or so on and so forth. It's crazy, some of the laws that have come out of, no offense, but Albany the last couple of years. I don't care what side of the aisle. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. I don't care about all that. You're still human. You still pay taxes. We don't want that much different, right? I think if we sat down in a group, put 100 people in the room, I think we'd find out both of us are probably somewhere in the middle, and we all want the same thing. So as far as, a secure house and a decent living and somewhere to raise your kids. So, yeah, we have to fight for that. We truly do. So, but I really appreciate you guys coming on. I know your son's behind you. Ryan, thank you very much for coming in and supporting us too.
Thank you, guys.
That's huge.
The way you treated my parents, thank you.
That's very nice of you to say. Sergeant Monahan, anything in the closing before we sign off this initial?
I would like to hear what the secret to a 51-year marriage is.
There we go.
She takes a lot.
51. You gotta be committed. And
Committed to what, Marilyn? 51 years.
you're going to make it work. Just like with the village, we're not going to turn the other way. We're going to address whatever is going on, and you make it work.
Have you known him longer than anyone else in life? You guys are high school sweethearts?
High school sweethearts.
I knew her since third grade.
Third grade. Really?
She hated me then.
She did.
It's come full circle right there.
I don't remember the third grade part. I remember being a sophomore and thinking, what an obnoxious clown he is.
Where did you guys grow up?
Mendon, Honey Eye Falls.
Mendon, you're a Pittsford girl?
No. Honey Eye
Pittsford
Falls.
Mendon sounds like Pittsford to me.
We
For all you
lived in-
Pittsford
We
listeners,
lived in Mendon
all right?
when Mendon was more like the 315ers.
But what school did you go to, Marilyn?
Honey Eye Falls. Honey Eye Falls, Lima.
Okay. So you guys, all right. I'll let you off the hook. If you were a Pittsburgh girl,
Country girl.
we would have extended this podcast a little bit. All right. But yeah, thank you very much, Bill. Thank you very much for hosting this. Bill Moran Productions, Billified Podcast. You can go to Apple Podcasts and check him out too. So we really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. I must add before we close, we're going to have some lead-in music. The lead-in music you hear on this podcast, probably in the beginning and the end, is from a local group called the Broken Bottles. And who they are, they're a bunch of Fairport and Penfield high school kids, and they formed a band, and they've named themselves the Broken Bottles. So I asked them to put together some unique music for us for this Copcast. And so hopefully when you listen to it, we have it melted into this program somehow. But we'll get their names. We'll have them on the podcast later on. But thanks to those guys too, the Broken Bottles. So thank you guys very much.